We are joined today by Gogo Lilian Mabalwetsi. And this particular lady has stolen my heart on a road to the Kula KZN clinic, beginning of this year, I think it was.
It was beginning this year. Yeah.
And it has been the most eye-opening experience getting to know you.
Thank you so much.
We met in August. You had just had a terrible accident. And I came to learn that you were not just this incredibly dynamic, exciting, electric human being, but that you also are an African traditional practitioner.
Indeed.
So, Gogo Lilian, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, dog.
Oh my gosh.
It's good to be here.
It's wonderful to have this time with you again. I wanted to speak to you to get the young, new age perspective on African traditional medicine.
Amazing.
And what it means.
And what it means.
Yeah, and what it means. Big
Absolutely.
question. So tell me, what does it mean?
So thank you very much, Dr. Bianca, for having me here today. It's absolutely a true honor to be here to talk about African traditional medicine. So what it means as a millennial to be a young traditional healer in South Africa in 2025, I think, there's so much knowledge, ancient wisdom that is passed through generations. Our forefathers, who were very reliant on African traditional medicine, have now passed on this knowledge to younger generations. And I think it would be so sad if we drop the baton, because this is ancient history. This is wealth of wisdom, how plants can actually heal, how we can ensure that we collaborate with homeopathy, with Western medication, to ensure that at the center of it, the patient is what we are called to assist.
Absolutely.
So I'm very honored to be in a position where I am currently in life, because I truly believe that I'm living my purpose. Every day for me is such a blessing, because there's one person that I'm able to assist through my spiritual calling, when I do ancestral work and I do readings for people. It's so important to me, because this is a gift that I've received from my ancestors, and I couldn't imagine myself and as anybody else or in another body. I'm so privileged to be able to tap into that world. So I'm very excited to be here.
So then when did that start? How did you know? What was the defining moment when you were called to this, or was it a progressive thing? Tell us.
So it was, I think, a progressive thing, because I was a very special child from a very young age, in terms of the dreams I would have, the visions. And so my mother, who's also a traditional healer, noticed at a very young age that this child has got a calling. And so as a responsible parent, you want your child to finish their school, and be somebody in life before they embark on a spiritual journey. So she would do a ceremony to ask for more time from my ancestors, to say, once she's matured and she's at a space where she can actually answer to her calling, then that will happen. And so I went through high school, university, studied as far as I wanted to, until the call came again to say, look, you need to live in your full purpose. And that's when I went to initiation school. I graduated in 2014, and I started this journey, which is now over a decade, and I haven't looked back. I grow every year from strength to strength. I can count many people that I have assisted, and I continue to assist. So I am very blessed to have this calling and to have this ability.
So what do you see in your practice? What is your what are the things you really enjoy? What is the sort of general trend within your practice?
So within my practice, what I really love doing is spiritual readings. I make use of bones. So I'm able to do a reading. Let's say, for example, you're my client and you want to find out what is happening in your life. You don't need to tell me anything, by the way. I prefer it that way. It's a spiritual rule that don't share things, because you're here to consult.
Sure.
You want me to diagnose you. So I will throw my bones down, I'll consult, I pray before I do any reading, to ask for permission from God to open that window so I can look into a person's life, so I can see what is it that they are suffering from. And also, I do also pray to ask for a way that I can help you. So through my ancestors, I do get results back to say this person is suffering from X, Y, and Z, and you are going to be able to help this person by doing X, Y, and Z. So I mean, I absolutely love the fact that I'm able to tap into that auric field. So what I do, I feel when you do a reading on someone, their ancestors obviously also form part of that reading, because a lot of the times you will find that there's a spiritual presence of the other person's ancestors, and they come forward and they share certain information. And I find that it's always a shock to my clients that certain things maybe that have happened in their past that they know that nobody else knows about. When I get that privilege to be able to see into that and to tap to that level and to share that with them, they are almost always in shock to say, how did you know that? And so it is a responsibility I take very seriously.
Yeah.
And so that's my favorite part of it. I also love the fact that I'm able to give you something to assist you with an ailment that you have, plant-based, of course, to recommend if you're suffering from, let's say, respiratory illnesses. I'm able to diagnose that and give you something that you can drink, that will help you with that, something to steam with, a certain tea that will help you alleviate those ailments.
So that, I think what you touched on is the in my very limited opinion, it's sort of experience opinion, is the crux of where the medical fraternity goes, hang on, I don't understand that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so for homeopathy is does not deal in the spiritual in any way. You know, we focus on mental, emotional, and physical. That's where the African traditional practitioners have that additional scope, if I can call it that.
Correct.
But I think that is pretty much where the medical fraternity then looks at it and goes, we don't understand it. We step away from it, and we rather just sort of draw a really big line in the sand.
True.
However, having said that, when you look at the recent statistics, and I don't know if you're aware of Wits University published an article in 2023 where they spoke about the percentage being about between 60 to 80% of the South African population will first consult an African traditional doctor before they'll actually seek conventional care.
Absolutely.
So that means that actually, whether you're in Western medicine, whether you're in complementary medicine, whether you are whatever field you're doing in healthcare, the chances, the probability of your patient having consulted an African traditional doctor are huge.
Absolutely.
Right? In South Africa.
Yes.
So whether you understand it, acknowledge it, accept it, they've already had that guidance. They've already had that feedback.
True.
In their life, right?
Absolutely.
So is it not irresponsible then as a medical practitioner to not actually be open to hearing this and understanding this?
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Doc, the problem is that people shy away or fear from things that are unknown to them.
Sure.
So a lot of the time you find that they are projecting on the sector of African traditional medicine. It is something that they don't completely understand, especially when you talk about a very important facet of it, which is the spiritual healing of it. I love that you mentioned that there is, curing in terms of physical, and then there's also emotional
and mental,
spiritual, mental, etc. So there are a lot of things to consider when it comes to holistic healing. And I think it's important for us to also note that the reason why we are saying, why don't we offer a bouquet of these service offerings, where homeopathy plays a role. They come in and say, look, there's plant-based medications that can be administered to patients, and let's see how effective they are.
Absolutely.
There's Western medication. We've got the Department of Health, and why not employ and have a study where you have African traditional healers, you have homeopaths who actually test the efficacy of how they do their practices. So, for example, if I come as Gogo Mabalweti and I say I'm very good at healing, let's say constipation or fibroids or any illness, I need to then be able to say, here is what I use. This is how effective it is, and we can do a trial run to say, here are 10 patients that are suffering from these ailments. Gogo, show us how you're able to heal these people. You come into the picture as a homeopathic doctor and say, I will administer these plants to these 10 people, and we do research. Because, you know, what is not regulated is what often causes the misconceptions. And I feel that because and I understand when traditional healers also come from the angle that, you know, this is divine wisdom that I've been given from my ancestors. Sometimes they shy away from sharing certain information, especially when we're talking about what do you put together in this concoction that you're giving a patient. So sometimes they are not willing to share that information because they're afraid that that information will be stolen. Somebody will run to pharmaceuticals and start producing that as an imbiza for themselves. So I think we need to find a very creative way where we can work together with pharmaceuticals, find a commonality, because I believe there's a lot of commonalities between the three of us. Western medicine, homeopathy, and African traditional medicine can definitely work together.
And while there might be areas where there may be slight overlap, we definitely have our areas where we can assist. You know,
I totally agree.
There's no reason why we shouldn't be maximizing on the strengths of all three systems. You know,
absolutely true.
Taking a truly holistic approach. You know, I often say to my patients in practice, my goal is your health.
That's it.
And if I see that we have an otitis media that is not responding to homeopathics and we've done what we can, the next safest thing is I need you on an antibiotic because this area is going to become problematic. We don't want seizures. We don't. So it's about what is the best for this patient. Nobody's going to be waving a flag at the end to say, I did it only with homeopathy or I did it only with African traditional medicine. The point is quality of life.
Absolutely.
The benefit of the patient, the health of the patient, but also the respect of the choice of the patients.
I absolutely agree with you. You see, you've coined it beautifully, because instead of working against one another, we need to actually work together, because at the end of the day, you're absolutely right, and the statistic is actually 80% above of South African people consult traditional doctors. So there's a huge market and a sector for that. And we need to acknowledge that we're an African country. How are we on the African continent and we don't recognize African traditional healers? Remember, years and centuries back, that was the only method that African people had access to health care. They would consult a traditional healer. They were very well respected in the community, and they were the doctors then. If a child was sick, if you needed to consult, they would throw down bows. They could tell what's going to happen in the future. They could even be able to tell the weather. I mean, African people were able to sing and do rituals to invite rain when in droughts. So that is immense power that is placed upon us as people. And that is something that we shouldn't actually look back on or ignore or forget. I feel that we should definitely encourage future generations to actually lean on that wisdom, because again,
it's tried and it's tested.
And we lose it when it goes to younger generations, because they are the woke, the YOLO generation that are they really free? Do you know who you are? What is very central in African spirituality is that you need to be able to define who you are. We have our clan names that define us as Mokwena. That's your pride and joy. Is culture and heritage that is so intertwined in that beautiful tapestry. We are a very colorful nation.
Absolutely. And in healthcare, it's so lovely as a practitioner who may not be part of that clan to actually just try to understand it.
Absolutely.
Just try to understand it. I think it just gives you a new dimension, a new perspective to your patients. It allows you in. They feel that trust. They feel it's just the most incredible thing.
It really, really is.
But to turn to our most recent trip to Kula, I wanted to find out from you, as an African traditional practitioner who is really very new age, what did you think of the Kula Natural Health Center?
I'm in love. I am absolutely in love. I have never seen such selfless acts from wonderful homeopathic doctors that have answered the call to assist people in poor communities to get access to healthcare. You know, what is happening in Kula, I firmly believe that we need to have different clinics all over South Africa. And if we can, let's move it into other countries.
Absolutely.
It was absolutely humbling to see how community members traveling from near and far come to the center to get their health and wellness checked, and those that are sick getting assistance. I even got assistance there, and I'm so grateful. I really
You had
did.
a consult?
I had a consult.
How was that for you?
That was amazing for
Really?
me.
How was it different?
So I went to Kula having sustained serious injuries to my ankles, my knees, and my hip after the car accident. And so I told the doctor what pains I'm feeling and where. And so what he decided to do is actually give me a couple of shots of something that's going to help alleviate the pain. I kid you not, I walked straight after that. There was no more pain. So I think it's so important for us to really explore that area. How is it that they are able to do that? It's instantaneous. I kid you not. I literally got up from that bed and I was healed. So I'm so grateful. And another aspect that I really loved about Kula is that they do exactly what we just talked about just now. A holistic approach to a patient, not just looking at the physical ailments, but also, you know, they ask questions like, when did you start feeling this pain? Because it's important for them to note that at the start of that pain, there must have been something that triggered that. So they look at the triggers. That's emotional, you know, inquiry into a person. What makes you feel that way? What is causing these headaches? You find that it's linked to some childhood trauma that this person has gone through, and they never dealt with the emotional aspect of this trauma that they went through. And then you also get that the spiritual element of it also plays a big role, because now this person also needs to look at themselves holistically, needs to define who am I in the bigger picture of things. What do I believe in? What are my core values? These questions are really critical for us to ask ourselves in order to really get to a level of personal mastery. You need to know who you are to move forward. You need to know where you come from to move forward. And this, I think, is where we miss the plot. People just, you know, want to gravitate towards being same. Why are you wanting to be like everybody else when you're so unique? We do not have the same blueprint in terms of your fingertips. You know, we go to Home Affairs now, they will pick up that I'm Lilian and you're Dr. Dekana. Big difference. Isn't it amazing that God actually made every single person in this entire world, and we are so many, to be different? So why are we gravitating towards being the same? I need to celebrate myself as Gogo Mabalwezi because I'm one in a million. There will never be anyone like me. There will never be another Dr. Dekana with your beautiful smile and the wisdom and the knowledge that you possess.
But I have to say, if we look at the uniqueness, because that was a big drive for us through the HSA, was your fingerprint. You are unique.
Yes, absolutely.
And so your treatment should be too.
Absolutely.
So if you have a particular condition, a respiratory issue, whatever the case may be, the entire picture needs to be taken into consideration. We need to take the individuality of that particular case. It is sacred, and it needs to be addressed in that way. And that's certainly where homeopathy comes from, where we look at the patient as a complete, unique experience of health. And I often say to patients, I will never have another patient like you ever again. And in fact, if I see you in a few months' time, you've changed. Everything is
no longer the same.
You're no longer the same.
It's so true.
And that is, I think, where African traditional doctors, homeopaths, complementary medicine, and Western medicine can really start to merge.
I agree.
And we can try to assist the departments of health in that gap, where we could be addressing the things that may not be life-threatening, that don't require the attention immediately, but are still important because it speaks to quality of life, to the person's health, their ability to get to work, their comfort at work, you know, their ability to get to school, to not miss out there. So, parting words, what is your advice to the youth looking at and watching this video, looking at it going, I didn't think African traditional medicine was, really something I could consider. I didn't know what homeopathy was. I've only ever used one system. What would your parting advice be?
My parting advice would be know thyself. It is really crucial for you as an individual to find out what makes your heart beat. Why are you here? Are you living your purpose as a young person? Have you taken time out to pause and find out what it is that you're called for? Because it is in these very things that we find who we truly are. And in terms of African traditional medicine, I firmly believe that that is the future. With how the World Health Organization is moving, these are discussions that the African Union should be having with member countries. These are conversations that our leaders in the country need to be having with this sector. Because once we want to combine the three, and I'm talking homeopathy, I'm talking Western medicine and African traditional medicine, we need to sit around a table and see how we can come together. Because at the end of the day, as the Department of Health, we need to have service offerings for the patient that addresses a patient holistically, not just one aspect of physical ailment. Maybe you've broken a bone and you are suffering from a lot of trauma, psychological issues that you're not giving an attention to. Are we saying, in hospital you can get access to a psychologist that can come and talk to you about what you're going through emotionally and psychologically? Could we then open the doors also to say, if someone is seeking spiritual alignment, that Gogo Mabalwethu could be called in to say, here's someone that can speak to you about your spirituality and how you can learn to center. Because once you find your center, you are so much at peace. And that's when everything aligns. Because like nature itself, everything hangs in balance. There's the sun, there's the moon, there's dark, there's light. In everything, we need to find our center. And when the center holds, everything else just falls into alignment. So what I want to say to young people is that live your true purpose, and plants heal. I healed personally, and I'm a testimony to how I've been able to use the three for my own healing. I've been able to be admitted at a hospital because I'd broken both my legs, a lot of bones in my legs. So I underwent 8 surgeries to make sure that my bones are healed. And then after that, I consulted a homeopathic doctor who gave me treatment, and I drank the detox tea, the different plants that would assist with anti-inflammatory properties and how to, deal with the pain. I also consulted a traditional doctor with the Imbiza that helped me heal from inside. So it was very important for me to also ensure that I touch base on all three. My spiritual upliftment came from that as well, to say, in this healing journey, what is it that I've learned? What have I seen being in the system at the hospital? And also I feel that was a spiritual journey. Make no mistake about it. It wasn't a coincidence that I was in hospital.
And
I learned so much.
Progressive of the Sedibeng districts.
I must agree.
Incredibly progressive.
I absolutely must agree with you.
King Hospital, I think a huge shout out to them.
Definitely.
And the Sedibeng District Health, how forward thinking and progressive they were.
I mean, to even allow me to do a spiritual consultation in the hospital. Incredible. And I'm so grateful to Enid Health, who facilitated that whole process. I think I'm the first person in the country, if not in the continent, that was ever allowed to burn impepo in a ward in a public hospital to ask for healing from my ancestors. And I'm so grateful to Sebokeng Hospital. I'm so grateful to the Department of Health. May you continue to lead in this regard. Absolutely. We will support you all the way. And to you, Dr. Bianca, I want to thank you as well. You are amazing. You were there in the beginning of my journey at the hospital. I still remember very distinctly when you came to the ward.
That was our first meeting.
That was our first meeting. And I've been in love since. Such a powerhouse. Absolutely love. I love you so much, and
absolutely,
I really hope that this relationship that we're building can really grow from strength to strength.
Absolutely,
and we will find the midway, and government will recognize that let's seal this deal.
Together.
Let's work together. The patient is at the core. Homeopathy is ready. We are ready as African traditional leaders.
That's it.
Department of Health is ready.
Let's do that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
This has
Thank you
been
so much. It's been
amazing.
fantastic. We could go on. We could.